All right, you have a couple more minutes if you're looking to get one of those questions right. So did you have fun doing these questions? Yeah, good answer, good answer. They're kind of tricky, they're unusual. These are actually questions that have been taken from a national math competition. TCC participates every year in this national math competition. It's 20 questions, similar to what you see here, that are multiple choice, like you see here. In fact, these are questions from previous tests. And then we have the Pi Club, which you can see the math instructors are all wearing their Pi Club shirts. The Pi Club this semester meets on Thursdays from 11 to noon in NW05 3210, and they actually practice problems like these. It's building your skills at doing unusual problem solving, and then it gives you a chance to learn how to do those type of problems so you can perform better when it comes time to compete. And we just had the competition last Friday, November 7th. Several students were there. We had 60? Oh, numbers, they're difficult for me. We had 32 people there. And then in the spring, it's coming up again. You have quite a bit of time. March 6th, we'll be doing it again. It's a 1-hour test where you try to answer as many of these questions as you can. But if you go to the Pi Club, you learn tricks to help you answer those questions. And, are you ready for this? There are cash prizes and scholarships available based on your score on the test. So it's fun to do anyway. And I know that you had a good time doing it here for a t-shirt and a notebook, but just think, you could win cash and scholarships. One of the scholarships is, I don't know if it always is, but it's usually they have a full ride to TCU is one of the scholarships. They also have a lot of UTA, Texas Tech. So be sure and keep an eye out for it. You see this? This is the sign you can see around campus that has all the information about it. It's hard to see on here. Amanda Wizenat and Jeremy Smith are the sponsors, so they lead that club, and they can answer any questions you have about that. Does anybody have a question before we move on? Okay. Do you guys need to say anything else about it? All right. We'd love for you to join. Come hang out and do some problems. Or tell other people, right? One other thing that I want to let you know about, we have a really awesome class. It's a biotech class. And Dr. Elaine Coleman is here. She is one of the instructors for the class, so I'm going to let her just talk about it for a few minutes. This might be something you're interested in, or you might want to share it with someone you know.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Elaine Coleman, and I, together with Professor Berg, we teach this class called Biotechnology, Laboratory Methods and Techniques. That's a big mouthful, isn't it? If you've ever thought that you would enjoy working in a lab, or maybe you know other people that enjoy that and doing science experiments, the purpose of this class is to train students on a lot of the common techniques that we would use in a lab. At the end of the class, students can take a nationally recognized exam called the BASE exam, and with that certification, it's something that they can take and apply for entry-level positions. In working with a lab, there's a variety of different places that one could go, whether it be in academia like at a big university, or perhaps with industry or pharmaceutical. So a lot of options. We still have plenty of spots for the spring, and we would love to fill them. Thank you.
All right, and then one more thing before we get started. Did you guys see the library table when you came in? You might have been distracted by the pizza, but right across from the pizza was the library table. They have all kinds of books, resources, pins. So they're here if you want to go check out what they have. They even have digital books that you can scan a QR code to check out. All of my statistics students, they have really cool books about statistics. So you might want to check that out. This is, if you want to look at it right now, this QR code will take you to the LibGuides, to our STEM So What page. And that page actually has all of the STEM So What events that we've had on there if you want to watch any of the videos from the past. It also has the PowerPoint that Dr. Humphreys is going to be presenting today. So if you want to go back and look at that later, that's where that'll be. I think we're in a small enough room and you can see it on this screen pretty well. But if you wanted to follow along on your phone, you could use this LibGuide to get there. But be sure and check out the library on your way out after this if you want more information. Also, I'm going to use this as a time to pitch. We have a whole bunch of T-shirts from those previous math competitions. So if you would like some T-shirts, they're on the table, all sizes. So go check that out and pick out the color you like and the size that you want. All right? And with that, I want to introduce to you Dr. Natalia Humphreys. She came all the way from the University of Texas, Dallas, which around this time, getting here in time for this, was rush hour traffic and, man, just craziness. So we're glad to have you on the better side of the Metroplex. But I am appreciative of her coming. I am really excited that you guys get the opportunity to hear from her, learn about actuarial science, the way math is used in these different fields. I was telling her before we started, as a high school student, I was pretty good in math, but the only opportunities that I knew about that you could do if you were good at math was engineering or medicine. And so I think it's interesting. I'm really glad you have this opportunity to hear some of the other opportunities that are out there using math in the world. So, Dr. Humphreys.
Can you hear me pretty well? All right. So let me just make sure my clicker works. All right, so that's good. My name is Natalia Humphreys, and I just wanted to thank you all to come in here, and I wanted to thank organizers for such a nice series of lectures. And today we are going to talk about actuarial science at the beginning. What is actuarial science? Who are actuaries? what do they do, what kind of projects they are involved in. And then my second half of the presentation is going to be about UT Dallas actuarial program. Okay, and if you have any questions along the way, please stop me and we can answer some questions. All right, so what can you do with your mathematics degree? And we can see here that you do have choices, right? You can become, you can get into the data analytics, you can get into education, you can become a statistician, work for the government, but another profession that you can choose is become an actuary. And so what questions will we answer today? Well, as I mentioned, what is actuarial science, what actuaries do, where do they work, and what does the work include? And actuarial science, in a nutshell, is a mixture of other fields. So basically, it's a mixture of mathematics, economics, finance, sometimes government policies, to assess risk in the insurance and finance industries. And who are actuaries? Well, actuaries are specialists, they're professionals who use their knowledge of mathematics, economics, finance to define, analyze, and solve business problems that involve the cost of possible future events. So what we do, we kind of quantify risk. What are the perks of being an actuary? So before I even explain what actuaries really do, what is good about that? Well, we have heard about it, high salaries, interesting projects, the professional prestige. It's also a pretty good work-life balance. And persona of an actuary usually involves a person who is good at communication, both verbal and written communication, someone who is interested in solving problems, who is excited about those challenges, and also the people who are good with time management. And that last one is usually good for a field of actuarial science in consulting. And we will discuss that as we go along. Do you have any questions so far? All right, so let's continue then. So where do actuaries work? So I have this many fields, right? I'm going to name some of these. And the most famous part is insurance industry. And you have heard of some of those companies, right? Like, for example, Nationwide. So does anyone here in the room have like your house maybe or your car insured with a Nationwide insurance? So maybe Blue Cross Blue Shield, that would be more like health, right? And then Cigna, also travelers would be also like a so-called PNC, or property casualty insurance, which basically insures cars, apartments, houses, and so on. Okay, so this is one sector, right? So another sector where actuaries can work are consulting firms. So I'm going to mention some of them, but then we will discuss what's the difference between consulting firm and an insurance company. And here come some names: Willis Towers Watson, used to be actually Watson Wyatt, Towers Perrin, separate organizations, separate consulting firms. They merged and then became Towers Watson, then they merged again with a British company, Willis, became Willis Towers Watson, or WTW. Mercer, Aon, Milliman, again, not sure if many of us have heard of those while being in college, but maybe we have, right? Maybe some of you have. And so the third sector is financial institutions. So Goldman Sachs, Charles Schwab, Merrill Lynch, organizations like that. And a couple more I'm going to list here. Accounting firms, the big four, we have heard of them: Ernst & Young, PricewaterhouseCoopers, KPMG, and Deloitte. And you would say, well, you know, how come it's accounting? Accountants must be working there. But of course, they have some small departments where they employ other specialists, like actuaries. We also have government agencies. So that would be departments of insurance, which are usually located in the state capitals. Like, for example, we have Texas Department of Insurance, TDI, and they are, of course, in Austin. And also you can work for the government organization as an actuary in our nation capital, in Washington, D.C. And we have actually an office of accounting, I think it's called Office of Government Accountability or something like that. And this is an office, this is an organization which is responsible. They answer to Congress, not to the president. And they employ actuaries, they employ economists, and basically Congress come up to them and they say, you know, this is a question we have, this is a problem we have, could you please provide a report, some research, and this Office of Government Accountability works on that, in particular, like I said, actuaries. And also you will see some strange abbreviation like PBGC. This is called a Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation. It's basically an insurance company for pension plans. All right, finally, where else? Universities, so you can work in education. Okay, so now let's go on. And so actuaries basically provide value assessment. And I'm just going to go through some questions that actuaries answer. So they could place a monetary value on various aspects of life. And let's take a look at, sometimes you wouldn't even think that something like that is worth the money and worth actually precise amount of money, but let's take a look. For example, let's determine the monetary value of unusual items, such as a concert pianist's hands or surgeon's hands, right? Or someone who is really good at baseball, a very valuable player, right? What happens if they break their arm? Well, they lose a lot of income, right? And prestige and so on. And so actuaries are able to assess that risk and they're able to put monetary value on that. In property casualty, we are going to see abbreviation for that P&C, price property insurance for homes, given their location, and the likelihood of a natural disaster. And of course, here I put a picture which is really precarious, right? That house is right there on the corner, and my goodness, it's just going, the first hurricane is just going to wash it off, right? Probably very high insurance there. Okay, so also retirement, I'm just kind of going quickly through some of the aspects. Retirement analyze statistical information about people age 55 and older to estimate deaths, disabilities, and retirement rates. Okay, movie industry. So that's interesting. Advise movie studio owners about how much liability insurance they should purchase to cover dangerous sets. Anything else you can think of? So now that we're thinking about strange things like that. So we talked about a movie, pianist's hands, surgeon's hands, very strange location of a house. What else can you come up with? Exactly, the insurance for aircraft manufacturers. Oh, actually, can we get a, yeah, hang on, before we, I was told that it's very important to actually have a microphone.
The aircraft manufacturer?
Yeah, aircraft manufacturing or specifically insurance, right, on aircrafts as well, right? Any other suggestions you might have? All aspects of life, right? So let's hear one more.
Maybe military insurance?
Definitely, military insurance. In fact, Department of, what is it? Is it Department of War now? It used to be Department of Defense, but now it's Department of War. So they actually do have, they have actuaries who work there, and they sometimes publish an announcement about a job with our university, and I announce that, and my students apply, some of them. Okay, so what does the work include? Okay, so projecting, let's take a look at a few. Projecting how a new auto safety law will change insurance claims. Well, let's think about that one. So when we talk to our grandparents and maybe our parents, we hear strange things like when they were young, it wasn't necessary for them to wear a seatbelt in a car. Did you hear that? Maybe from some of your older relatives? Or maybe you have heard that it used to be that it was okay to have a baby in the front on mother's lap. And now, where are the babies? Always in the back, right? In the child seat and turned, right? Turned actually backward. It's because it's safer that way. And so what happens is, as we change those laws, so what do you think happened when that law about the seatbelt came into effect? What do you think happened with, not so much, let's get our, maybe I should have a couple microphones actually in my hands, because, go ahead.
I said they had so many deaths or injuries that they had to revisit the law.
Exactly. Maybe they didn't need to revisit, but did you want to give it to me? I'll handle that. I'll just hold another one here. Okay. So let me make sure it's, yeah, let me make sure it's off. Okay, so basically what happened was with this law, maybe the same number of accidents still occurred, but definitely the severity of those accidents was decreased, right? Maybe not so many deaths as we have heard here from our student, or maybe not so many injuries, or maybe injuries were not so severe, correct? Okay, so all of that, we can put monetary value on that. Another one you can see here, projecting financial costs of an epidemic. Well, that's kind of important right now. We didn't know that, right? If I were making that presentation 5 years ago, or maybe 6 years ago, you wouldn't even worry about this one. But now you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I know what that means. And of course, we kind of live in the moment. So there were epidemics before, we just maybe, because we didn't live through it, we don't really feel it so strongly. But of course, there was a Spanish flu, and just as many people died, if not more, on the cusp of the 19th and 20th century. There were other epidemics. And analyzing investment risk. And that one, maybe you have heard of some of those like financial bubbles, like housing bubble, when things were overpriced, like a housing crisis, right? Things were overpriced, or maybe those loans were sold and resold and so on. And it all led to some crisis, correct? Okay, so let's look at the next one. For now, I'll place this here. The next one is, I just wanted to mention a little bit more about that P&C industry. So basically, actuaries in P&C industry, they estimate the probability and likely cost to the company of an event in the event of loss of property, car, or equipment accident. So think of it as basically the insurance that your parents pay for a house or maybe a car. Okay, that's the easiest. These are easiest examples. Now, how are those policies priced? So just in general, when it comes to actuaries, we have two types. We used to have three, and I'll mention that, but for now, let me mention the first two. It's either a pricing actuary or a reserving actuary, okay? So the pricing actuary, and this is what I mentioned here, are the ones who basically decide how much are you going to pay for a policy, okay? So when they give you this number, it's not kind of like a number out of the blue. It's really the number that actuaries calculated, and it reflects the expected value of benefit that they're going to pay you when you have an accident, okay? And so the other one, the reserving actuary, It's basically a group in a department, actuarial department, that decide how much money as a company, as an insurance company, for example, we need to have in reserve in order to be able to pay all of those claims. And the trick here is most claims have not arrived yet. They're called IBNR, incurred but not reported claims. Okay, and so that's what this is a little bit different aspect of an actuary. And the third one I mentioned, it used to be also a compliance actuary. So who do you think compliance actuary would be? Let me get my microphone here. Compliance actuary, who would that be? I know.
Codes, maybe? Like building codes or something like that? Or am I on the wrong track? That's any kind of keeping up with like codes or regulations? Or
Codes and regulations. I like that word regulation, actually, because the insurance companies, they have to be compliant, right? They have to follow what? The laws and regulations of two things. They have to follow laws and regulation, come on in, of a state, and also laws and regulation of a federal, right, of a government. And so right now, it's not enough for just actuaries to be aware of these laws. It's impossible. There are so many laws. And usually in an insurance company, they have like the whole department. It's called the compliance department. And people who are employed there, that's all they do. 8 hours a day, every day, day in and day out. They search those laws and they make sure that the company, the insurance company, is compliant with those laws. If you are not, you are going to pay fines, and you might be even bankrupt at the end, okay? All right, so let us now go on, and let's take a look what's next there. Oh, and one more thing I wanted to mention. So I put this in parentheses there. Looks like in order to price something, we need to look at the different variables, right? So what are they? So obviously the price of a policy is going to depend on what? Let's take a look there. Well, insured's age, that's for sure, right? Also sex, male, female, driving history is going to make into that price. Type of a car as well. So for example, and it's kind of like simplest example, but bear with me. So let's say I have a 18-year-old guy and he is driving a Ferrari, convertible Ferrari, red color, okay? And he likes to drive it really, really fast. And his driving history shows that. Okay, so now on the other hand, let's say I have a mom, 45-year-old, she has 3 kids and a dog, and she has a van, Honda Odyssey. So who do you think is going to pay less for the insurance? Probably mom, correct? Now here we are kind of involving stereotypes. It's not like that, it's not so simple, but, and of course we might have an 18-year-old guy who likes to drive convertibles very fast, but at the same time he follows all the laws and he's very responsible. So I don't want to make stereotypes, but here we are. Okay, so then the next one is insure, so those P&C actuaries, ensure that the premium will cover potential claims, correct? So claims in P&C, think of it as like benefits in health insurance, right? These are something that our insureds are going to get. This is their benefits. And they also ensure that the company is profitable. But can we just price a policy really, really high? Sure, it's going to be profitable, we are thinking, but what's the problem with that? And I have it on a slide there. They also have to make sure that they're competitive, exactly, because other insurance companies are going to offer the same benefits for less, And all of a sudden, we've got all of our insureds go to that other company. So it's very important, right, to be competitive, price well, make some profit, but maybe not that much. And at the same time, be able to cover all of the potential claims. Okay, so before we move on to life and health, any questions about that property casualty? I'm just kind of like, I'm making it light, right? Not too much information, but a little bit there. Okay, so now let's look at life and health. So I'm sure you have heard of that because of life insurance, health insurance, correct? Okay, so what do? Well, they estimate the probability and likely cost to the company of an event such as death, sickness, injury, or disability. Okay, and sometimes this disability part, it actually is with the P&C company, it kind of depends on the business. Life actuaries, they help companies develop annuity and life insurance policies. Okay, now what's the difference between an insurance and an annuity? What do you think? Let's have someone with a microphone. Go ahead.
Life insurance is for when you die, and annuities are for if you live too long. So they pay you a premium or a monthly stipend if you live past the estimated time that they think you're going to live.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to, maybe that word too long, like living too long, maybe that's not quite correct. I mean, maybe no, I'm just saying that you can have an annuity that starts at age of 50. It depends on you how you want to set it up, right? But basically, annuity is kind of like some income that you receive while you are alive. And insurance, it could be, there are different types, but like the plain vanilla, the whole life insurance, it's pretty much your beneficiary, your family gets a benefit after you pass away, okay? But then we will not get into details of like 20-year term or something like that, or endowment insurances. But anyway, this is in a nutshell what life insurance is. What is important? Well, it's important, how do you estimate this, right? So there is a benefit that a company promises at the end. Let's say it's an insurance, okay? But what's the key? What's the randomness here? You know the benefit for sure. Let's say it's 100,000. But what don't you know? Go ahead.
How long they're going to live.
Exactly. You don't know when they will die. So that sometimes they denote it like T, big T, it's a time to death. It's a random variable. And so random variable, it has its own distribution. It's a law, the cumulative distribution function, and so on and so forth, expectation. And so that's what really actuaries have to estimate, how long a person is going to live. Now, how are they estimating that? And that's that next slide. So basically, we use these words, kind of strange words. We call them mortality tables. Have you heard of mortality tables before? No? And I hear some, I see some yeses and I see some no's. But let's define. Basically, mortality table, it just looks very simple. It has, think of it as like a couple of columns. In one column on the left, you have your age. And on the right, right beside the age, there is a probability of dying in the next year. So let's say it's a 20. And the probability beside it is 0.00001, let's say. So that's a probability that you will die before age 21. Okay? And obviously, as we go on in those ages, those probabilities are slightly increasing, and then eventually, you know, maybe it depends on the mortality table, like up to age 100, sometimes more, 115, that's a 1 at the end, right? Okay, now I wanted to discuss the types of mortality tables. So does it surprise you that we have to distinguish? Well, no, it doesn't, exactly, it's not surprising. Obviously, I have to distinguish. I have to distinguish between male and female, for example. Why? Because men generally live less than women. Okay, this is a fact and this is a study, right? And so the mortality tables reflect that. And by the way, on average, who knows how much longer women live compared to men on average? Okay, go ahead. I hear
8 years.
I hear 8. Any other answers? Give me other numbers there. I hear 12. Wow, okay. That's a lot. Okay, any other numbers? 5, I hear 5. It's actually 3.5. All right. I hear some hands going up like, what? That's not enough. But anyway, so male versus female, but it depends. Married, unmarried. Okay, who do you think lives longer? Married people or unmarried people? Again, on average, of course, there are outliers in different cases, but on average.
Unmarried.
Married people live longer. Very good. Thank you so much for
No,
this.
I said the opposite.
Oh, you said the opposite? Okay, so I was thinking the right answer. Okay, so actually married people, guys, on average live longer. Okay, I don't know the exact number by how long, but it's again, this is something studied and it's reflected in mortality tables. Why do you think married people live longer? We have, there you go. Give us
They're
an
just
answer.
happier, I guess. Emotions
You think
probably play a
that
part.
you
I
think
don't know.
married people are happier? How many people here? And I'm not asking people in the back, okay? I'm happy in the, no, I'm not asking that. I'm asking how many people in the room are married. It's just a quick question. Okay, so not too many. Like I'm just looking at the front of my room because obviously I'm looking at my students, right? And you guys are not married yet, right? And so, but we're just telling you, as married people live longer. Okay, and I still didn't get an answer why.
Because somebody's watching the other to make sure the other person doesn't do anything dumb.
That's actually there is some truth to that. So usually, it's a little bit easier to live together. It's just that we're kind of watching after each other, and maybe if we had a tough day, there is someone to talk to and things like that. And it's very, very important, right? Because it's not just our physical health; it's also our psychological health. Correct? So it's a combination. All right, so smoker versus non-smoker, we don't need to discuss that, it's obvious. I'm surprised they don't have like something related to alcohol. I'm surprised about that, but I never heard, by the way, of mortality table like that. Like alcoholic, versus non-alcoholic, just kidding. Okay, and finally, one interesting fact, blue collar versus white collar. Okay, so that's an interesting part, right? Because what is a blue collar worker? Explain to me.
Manual labor.
Like manual labor, correct? And white collar, give me examples of those. I'm advertising for white collar.
An actuary?
Actuary, right? Or accountant or lawyer or whatever, right? So that's all.
Like an office job or maybe even like a teaching position could be considered white collar.
Exactly. Very good. Thank you so much. And so, what do you think? So, let's make our educated guess here. Who lives longer? White collar live longer. Why? You think they have more money? Not always. Not always. Go ahead. I'm going to repeat here. Or go ahead.
More
and say it.
education, more access to healthcare.
More education and more access to healthcare. Okay, so just in general, correct. And one more, I have a volunteer here.
Another reason why white collar workers may may live longer than blue collar workers is because they work in like less hazardous working conditions as compared to like say your average blue collar worker where they're gonna be working in like very high risk, very hazardous working conditions.
Thank you so much. That's exactly right. And I'm sure that many of you were thinking similar, right? Similar thoughts. Okay. So now let's move on. And now I'm moving to health actuaries. Okay. So all of us have health insurance, obviously. And who is, well, some of you, you don't? Okay. Well, but we want to, correct? We want to have health insurance. It's a little bit easier. Okay. So basically, these are the actuaries who determine how much to charge, okay, for your insurance. And of course, you know, if you're working for like TCC, for instance, or some company, the company sponsors some of that. So because they negotiate with an insurance company, right, a good rate for the employees. So basically, we're talking about helping companies develop health and long-term care insurance. Long-term care, who is it for? Long-term care. It is for like older people, correct? Correct. So insurance policies by predicting the likelihood of occurrence of illnesses. And here I kind of mentioned a few of them. And there is a reason why I mentioned these specific ones. We've got this heart disease, diabetes, we've got stroke, cancer. And the reason why I mentioned this they're called dread diseases. Okay, if you hear these words, dread diseases, that's what they usually mean. Okay, these are the diseases that require the most care, they're most expensive to treat. And also, how do they price? Well, again, those variables make sense. Sex, the age, and interesting variables here are listed. Living in a certain area and having a family history of illness. So certain area, like by zip code, right? Sometimes it depends. All right, so actuaries in financial industry, they manage credit and help set price for corporate security offerings. What would that be? Like, give me some possible prices of corporate security offerings. We've got someone there in the back.
Like publicly traded stocks.
Excellent, thank you so much. That's an excellent answer. And one more.
I was going to say the same thing, like IPOs.
Okay, but IPO is not quite that. That's a little bit different. So IPO, what does it stand for, by the way, guys? Initial public offering, correct? And so you don't know when you are starting your business how to price your stock. So actuaries help with that. Usually it's underwriters actually who do that, but okay, we'll claim that one on us as well. Okay, so, but also, have you heard of financial derivatives? So obviously we have stocks and bonds, right? But what are the financial derivatives? You can just give me an example or you can define it, it's up to you. Have you heard of options? Have you heard of forwards or futures? So these are all considered to be financial derivatives. Why? Because their price depends on usually a price of a stock. Sometimes it's also price of like currencies and things like that. But usually it's either stock or a bond. And so stocks and bonds are considered to be like building blocks in financial industry. Everything else is built upon them, okay? So now let's keep going, devise new investment tools to help their firms compete with other companies. They address financial matters, how a company should invest resources to maximize return on investment. Okay, return on investment, I'm sure you've heard of this abbreviation, ROI. So it's like when you look at the net present value and you equate it to zero, then you solve for that cost of capital. That's what it's talking about there. Any questions so far?
So would an actuary work for someone like something like the FDIC, where they insure the actual stocks and bonds and things like that? Is that a position that someone could work in if they were an actuary?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, they can. In fact, that's probably what they do if they do work for a financial firm. So when I was mentioning like all these places where actuaries can work, some of those are considered to be more elite, quote unquote, than others. Like to get to a position in a financial firm, it's considered to be a little bit more difficult, okay? Because it's just not as many of them. Okay, so pension actuaries, and I do have my fellow pension actuary here, Ellen. Thank you so much for coming. And basically, these are the people who work typically, guys, for consulting firms. Okay, and we will discuss what the difference is between consulting and insurance. But for now, let me just say that a consulting firm is a company which has clients. And what they do, they help administer their benefits. That's why they're usually called benefits consulting firms. So pensions are the very big benefit that a lot of companies offer. And so they have pension plans, and the actuaries and consulting firms help administer those plans. And so I mentioned here like strange abbreviations like ERISA. ERISA is called Employee Retirement Income Security Act. It's an act that was enacted by Congress in 1974, which basically started to regulate pension plans for private firms. Okay, before that, if you were a private company and you offered a pension plan, if your employee, let's say, terminated, which means stopped working and went to work for another company, but when they hit that retirement age, which is usually 65, they expected the company to pay for the pension. And sometimes private firm would say, oopsie, you know, we don't have enough, or this is not what we promised, or we cannot answer for our obligations. Well, that ERISA Act basically regulated this. And now a lot of those pension plans are regulated and administered better, properly. They also, pension actuaries address financial matters, how an individual should invest in order to attain a certain retirement income level. Okay. All right, so government actuaries, moving along. You have heard of Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. So actuaries work in those organizations. And reinsurance actuaries. So you have heard of reinsurance companies, right? Can you name any reinsurance companies that you might heard of? AIG, this is a company that is in Houston, I think. They are some retirement, some just life and health, but also any other insurance. AIG is a good one. Have you heard of Swiss Re? Or maybe Munich Re? Optimum Re? So when you have Re at the end, it's reinsurance. Anyway, so these are kind of like the biggest reinsurance companies in the world and in the United States. And what do they do? Well, they help their clients are other insurance companies. So if you are a PNC company and you do not know how much risk, let's say you know how much risk you have and you know you have too much. Let's say Texas, California, and Florida, right? These 3 states where PNC companies are trying to pull out of too much risk. So reinsurance helps in case of hurricanes or other natural disasters. These are the actuaries who are supposed to be a little bit higher level than regular actuaries because they just have to do a little bit more complicated models. They have to deal with more complicated calculations. All right, so consulting actuaries, finally we got to those. They help, as I already mentioned about pension plans, but just in general, they help other companies administer retirement plans, provide advice to clients on a contract basis, and evaluate companies' pension plans by calculating the future value of employee and employer contributions and determining whether the amounts are sufficient to meet future needs. Okay. All right. So they also testify in Congress, work on other other projects like Quadro, Qualified Domestic Relations Order. And we have also a couple more projects I'm going to mention here. Determine corporate policy on risk, explain complex technical matters to company executives. All right, so now I just wanted to get to an overview of retirement plans. How am I doing on time, by the way? 20 minutes, okay, that's plenty. Okay, so I just wanted to say something about retirement plans, okay? There are usually three kinds of retirement plans. First of all, the vehicles to obtain financial security. And there are differences between, let's listen to this carefully, defined benefit and defined contributions plan. Okay, what are the differences? The defined benefit plans, these are the employer-provided retirement plans and defined contribution. Then we have also individual, that's another aspect of financial security, and finally government, which is social security. And social security provides most basic retirement benefits. Medicare, Medicaid provides mostly medical benefits, and the focus there is typically on lower income individuals. And as individuals, we're also supposed to save, right? Okay. So now let's look at those three plans: defined benefits, defined contribution, and then there is also called a post-retirement medical plan. So when I look at the differences between defined benefit and defined contribution, and I know it's a kind of a big table there, but I just wanted to mention one thing. Think of defined contribution plan as an individual who just invests in a market. Okay, the company helps a little bit, they usually match it, but the risk, the investment risk, lies on the employee. Okay, so usually the defined contribution plan is good for companies that are not, have not been for too long in business. Maybe they also have kind of a high turnover. So defined contribution is good for those kind of companies and employees. And defined benefit is typically there is a formula for the benefit, and the company is responsible for, they promise, when you retire, this is how much you're going to get. And it's on us to provide it to you. And how are we going to provide? Well, we are going to make smart investment decisions. So that investment risk lies on employer. And when is that more beneficial? It's for someone, as long as you work for a company for a long time, your defined benefit plan is probably going to provide a better benefit for you, okay, than defined contribution. So now let's take a look at a couple situations, and I want you to decide, is it better defined benefit or defined contribution? Are you ready? Okay. An employee who is planning to change employers every 3 to 5 years.
Contribution.
Defined contribution, correct. Okay. Situation number 2. A 55-year-old expecting to work to age 65 and expecting for the market over the next 10 years to be a bear market. What does it mean, a bear market versus bull market? Bear is kind of like not such good results, right? Okay, so what do you think? Defined benefit or defined contribution? Ellen is smiling because she knows the answer. So investments are not going to do so well, and as an employee, if the investment risk is on you, what do you think? Do you want it? Probably not, right? So maybe it's better if the company provides that benefit for you, right? So defined benefit would be a little bit better. And situation number 3, the last one. a company starting a retirement plan and vision to control costs associated with the plan. And this is one thing that I did not mention about defined benefit plans. They're kind of expensive to administer. Okay, so now that I give you the hint, what do you think? DC or DB? DC actually. Okay, it's a cheaper to administer. Okay. All right, so I'm finished with my first part, and now I'm going to go relatively quickly, so it sounds like I don't have too much time, about actuarial program at UT Dallas. Are you guys ready? Okay, so let's do it very quickly. First of all, we are Center of Actuarial Excellence, and I'm going to explain very quickly what that means. It's highest designation that the Society of Actuaries, SOA, can put on an actuarial program, on a university actuarial program. Okay, and there are 45 CAEs around the world, and 24 of them are in the United States. Okay, so now let's look at the distribution, geographic world location. We have 24 in the US, 5 in Australia, 9 in Canada, 2 in Hong Kong, 2 in China, 2 in the United Kingdom, and 1 in Singapore. Okay, and I named some of those universities. We don't have too much time to go through them, so I just kind of go into list, give you like a second to look at it. And I also have a map there, Ohio State there, that's my alma mater. And UT Dallas is there, the last one there. Okay, so about this location, most of the CAEs are located in the Northeast and the Midwest. There is one in Southeast, which is Atlanta, Georgia, and there is one in Southwest, which is our university. Okay, so UT Dallas is the only one in Texas and in the Southwest in general that has this designation. And here they are. You can see it's kind of, maybe it's a little bit small, but these are the locations. That line over there, the black line divides, that's a border with Canada there. It's kind of, it's interesting, right, how straight it is there? Okay. So, and it's another thing that most of the Canadian cities, they're located along its southern border. So, all right, so a little bit on Australia there, here they are. All along this east coast. We also have Canada, and we have Hong Kong, and we have Singapore, 2 in China, and we have also 2 in England, 1 in Scotland actually, 1 in England, and our program. Okay, so again, looking at this stool, right, 3-legged stool, one leg is disappearing, the whole stool falls. The first one is academic preparation. So we actually prepare you. We have Bachelor of Science and Masters of Science degrees. Bachelor of Science started in 2009, Master of Science in 2013. We also have a minor for you and a fast track. This is just an educational pathway I'm kind of describing here. SOA describes it for you, different exams that need to be taken. But again, we don't have too much time, so I'm just showing you some pictures there, some colors. And we pretty much prepare you for all exams that are required for the ASA designation, which is Associate of the Society of Actuaries. And also they require some VE credits. It's a validation by educational experience. It's 3 types. One is statistics, the other one is economics, the third one economics and accounting and finance. And as you take classes, after you take 2 exams and pass them, automatically we have an agreement with SOA, it will be counted for you. I'm just naming some of the exams there. And here we have enrollment. You can see there is kind of an interesting dip there. Why do you think that is? Everybody blames it on COVID, okay? It's so convenient, right? Okay, it's COVID's fault. Okay, well, yes, I will say part of it is COVID, but part of it is actually data science. and it's a phenomenon nationwide in the United States. Data science degree kind of pulled quite a few majors from actuarial science, but now it's very saturated in terms of finding positions, and a lot of the actuarial science students are coming back, okay? Bachelor of Science, Masters of Science, just kind of distribution by the degree. Exams that our students took over the years, our program has been in place for 15 years. Just the 3 major exams. This SRM, Statistics for Risk Management, it's a recent exam, so that is why it has a smaller number. Graduates, this is where they work. And these are the degrees by all of our graduates. Again, graduation rates, here they are. Business preparation, this is about the projects that we offer to you guys. Usually it's an honors thesis. Some of the case studies that our students do. And just going through, the final one is the companies. So we have every Friday, a company comes, they talk about actuarial science, the projects in their company, and they offer us entry-level positions and the internship positions as well, okay? And I think that's almost there. Pretty much, you know, I was just describing the benefits for both sides. And these are the companies that attended this year. Some of them, well, let's get going. It's just the first slide. We have another one. There we had 11 companies. Without it, our stool will fall. And a couple of scholarships that we've got there. And that's about it. Here are the major professors in our group, actuarial group, but other people obviously teaching as well other classes. All right, thank you so much for your patience. I know it's a long presentation.
Are there any overall questions before we let her finish?
Hello? Okay. I wanted to see how this would relate with homeowners. Like, if I'm particularly like a landowner for like multiple homes. So I don't know how that would work.
In terms of which actuary would be responsible for that?
Yeah, like if I wanted to do this on my own, if I wanted to have like 3 homes under my name and rent them out, would that be like under this actuary program? Okay.
So basically, yeah, you would have to get an insurance, and usually there is a difference between your primary residence, and then if you are renting, that insurance will be a little bit higher, or a lot higher actually. Yeah, but it's all definitely with a PNC company. You will be buying insurance through them. Any other questions? Good question.
What would be the best course to take if you were interested in finding out like the basics? What would be the best course? What would you recommend if somebody is maybe a little bit interested in this, but they're still not sure because we are freshmen, right?
Yeah, we are freshmen here. Okay.
So at a community college. So what course would you recommend to get a better introduction to? Did I see a slide that you had that had the introduction to actuarial science?
Okay, so this is an easy answer. Take calculus, guys. Take calculus. I see the faces changed. Your face like was smiling and now it's not. So take calculus. That's all you need to do.
That is a great way to end. Take calculus or statistics,
Or
right?
statistics, probability statistics.
All righty. Real quick, I'm going to ask you to do something for me. If you will scan this QR code, this will take you to a survey. We like to know what you think about what we're doing. Do you enjoy having events like this? Do you want more? So if you will fill out this survey for us, we would really appreciate it. It's an important part of us being able to continue to do stuff like this. So we appreciate you filling that out. As you continue to fill that out for us, I'm going to do a couple things at once. I want to, first of all, say thank you. We have several deans and some math faculty who are retired and are back here. So we love having you, as well as many math faculty sitting back there, and including our adjunct faculty that are from the actuary business. I don't know how to say that. Anyway, there's a lot of wonderful people here, so take advantage of that. You can, if you don't have to rush off, be sure and talk to our deans in the back, our math instructors, Dr. Humphreys. Be sure and go out and talk to the library. It looks like there's a little bit of extra pizza, so if you'd like another piece on your way out. Also, don't forget there's bunches of extra math t-shirts that you can have. And then most importantly, if you got a ticket for answering a question, make sure you go by the sign-in table to get your t-shirt and or notebook. Is there anything, other announcements I'm missing? Okay, I think that's it. I want to real quickly say thank you to Dr. Humphreys for coming. So we have a certificate. She gets a t-shirt and notebook as well. There you go. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. So take some time if you have questions, but we're just a little too shy to ask. Dr. Humphreys will be here for a few more minutes before she heads all the way back to Dallas. And what's that? Oh, yeah. She only has to go to Irving, so she can talk longer. All right. Thank you. Have a good night.